All right, well, welcome back to the last installment of the bid optimization part of the Bulk Ops Bootcamp. And in this video, we're going to be going over placement algorithms. This is probably the most advanced type of rule that you can apply in autopilot. I'm also going to go over a little simpler version of adjusting specifically placement modifiers. And then also if you want to bulk adjust like campaign budgets and stuff like that, you can definitely do that with autopilot. So let's actually start there because it's a bit easier and more straightforward. So let's pretend that we wanted to, for whatever reason, maybe like a day parting file is a common use case for these, where later on in the day you want to bump up all of your top of search modifiers to a certain value, or maybe you want to adjust it from the current value where it is and adjust it by a percentage or an increment. So there's a couple different options there when we're talking about budgets or modifiers. You can modify it. Modifying it means you're going to use the existing campaign budget and do a modification off that value, where set to means you're just going to set it to whatever you specify. So the campaign and placement section is going to be hidden by default. You need to enable it there. And then you can get access to a few examples down here at the bottom. I already copied and pasted a few up here for the sake of this demo. But if you're going to adjust the budget, you just set it here in the gray column. And then if you're going to adjust the modifier, you set it in this column. It's going to be either the modification, or in this case, we're going to set it to 25, in this case 25%, because we're talking about a modifier. That's what this rule adjusts, is the actual modifier. And then this column here, this is actually used only in the more advanced algorithms that we'll go over here later here in this video. So next, we want to kind of decide what our thresholds are, and you set it up exactly how you would more of the target thresholds that we've been focused on thus far in this training series. Just note that these rules here that show up in the budget and placements, those are going to be adjusting the actual campaign entity in the case of the campaign budget, or the bidding adjustment entities in the case of the placement modifier adjustments. So the thresholds apply to those same rows within your bulk file. So if I open up my bulk file here, you'll notice you've got campaign level entities, which are here, and then you've got bidding adjustment entities, which are here. So the metrics that those yellow thresholds are working to are going to be that entity's level of metrics, where up until now you've been used to working with the keyword level, or said another way, the target level. So you can either have product targets or keywords. We've been building rules thus far up to now using the keyword entity level metrics. So a little bit of a different segment of your account that these adjustments are going to be working with, and it's going to be setting those thresholds on that same kind of level. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. So basically, this one here, this campaign budget is pretty easy to understand. It's basically going to set your campaign budget to $100 for any campaigns that have a performance metric of greater than 0 orders and less than 35% ACoS. So pretty simple. That's what that one's going to do. And then this one is going to adjust any top of search modifiers across your entire sponsored products, and it's going to set it to 25% for any placements that are top of search placements that are greater than 0 orders and less than 35%. So I'm actually just going to run these rules so I don't confuse you, and we'll see how it works. All right, so you can see we have 42, and in this case, it's talking about 42 campaigns, it's talking about 42 top of search placements. So that would be 42 campaigns as well, because you have one top of search placement per campaign. And in this one, 49 campaigns were adjusted. So you notice when I did that, we got a bunch of errors up here. Basically what that's showing up here is only related to targets, and we're not talking about targets with these rules. So You might want to, so you don't confuse yourself, you can either add a note or you can name it a certain way so you know that like these type of rules, when you set them up, they're handling a different layer of your ads. It's the campaign upper layer as opposed to these. We're dealing with the kind of the target layer. And in these, we're going to get super complex and we're going to deal with both base bids and placement levels at the same time. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But let's go and just verify kind of what's going on here. So let's look at rules 16 first. So we'll just hop over here and I'm going to look at rule 16, and you're going to see that these are all top of search. So you'll see top of search over here, and they're bid adjustment level rows. But you'll see that the orders are above 0. So at the top of search level, and the ACoS, I think was, what did I say, less than 35%. So yep, all less than 35%. So they are getting changed in bulk to 25% top of search modifier. So that's basically what that action and that rule set up this way does. All right, and you can do that for the other placements. If I would have used the modify modify top of search percentage, it would have started at whatever I currently had it set to, which there's actually a column over here that gives you that. So this is what it was set to originally. This is a demo file, so it's kind of random values, but it would have incremented up from 200 by 25 percentage points. So it would have said 225 in that case. So that's what that does. All right. All right. So next, and you can actually put a percentage in there too if you don't want to do a fixed value increment. You could do 25%, and it would do a percentage off of the that current modifier percent. So a lot of options there. And then the campaign budget, that's even simpler to understand. So just go to rule number 17, and you're basically just bulk adjusting your budgets accordingly. So you can see now it's all at 100, where before it was, whatever this value was here. And that's again based on the campaign entity. So these are all the campaign entity. And then you've got greater than 0 orders with an ACoS of that. So use case for this is just blanket updating your budgets on your top performing campaigns, so you're not running out of budget. And then the top of search use case is one I've personally done, is like day parting later in the day when you want to bump up your modifiers, so you're really defending top of search when everybody else has run out of budget. That's a good kind of tweak to make. So anyway, hopefully that kind of made sense. Now I'm going to pause these, and I'm going to actually enable all of these, and we're going to get really complex. All right. So this new feature, and there's 2 ways to do this. You can set up these rules for single keyword campaigns or multi-keyword campaigns, and there's quite a few options within each style. So single keyword, you have a modifier rule and you have a base bid rule, and there's a couple different ways you can aggregate and use the data. Now you're probably asking, how do I know which one to use where? So with that, we've got a pretty cool new feature we've been iterating on called the placement optimization score. So what you can do is just hop over to your sponsored products tab and run that. And it's a pretty complex script. It's basically going to account for click-through rates, conversion rates, orders, performance, and kind of mesh everything together at the placement level to attempt and rank the different placements across each other in all your campaigns. And we've got some conditional formatting here as well. Column there should be hidden. So this optimization score kind of shows you which one, and it, whichever has the highest value has like the most potential to to improve your account if you focus on it. The higher the value. So and I've been working with this here for the past few months. One thing I like to do right away is just sort this. You can either do A to Z or Z to A, doesn't matter, because what you're wanting to do is get the like campaigns next to each other. So you can see like that's campaign 10, this is campaign 11, this is campaign 12. And they're yellow because multiple placements within that campaign have an optimization score. So what you're mostly concerned with though is like anything that has a very high value standing out, that's likely just overarching the best placement in that campaign, and the rest of them are going to be underperforming, and you want to focus mostly on those. But if you have some that are grouped together and very close, like any that are over 1 of a value is one I would really kind of hone in on. But if you have multiple within the same campaign that are at a 1 or above, or just relatively close, that would be a potential use case for kind of the low CPC option, which is going to kind of work to optimize single keyword campaigns and then optimize all your placements, where if you have some that are just blatantly top of search and they're just, or that top of search is really what you want to go after is another use case, then you can basically set it up and hedge towards top of search, which that's the example I have here in the testing that I've done with this. This has been my favorite, to use is kind of the top of search CPC and hedge against top of search. It really helps with, ranking and being more aggressive in that placement. So, all right. So to use these rules, you obviously have to first add the action. And for the single keyword version, for example, you would add a modifier level rule and then the corresponding base bid level rule. And the base bid is designated with these 2 little lines in front of it, and that's how you know it goes with the placement level rule. All right, and there's a few different ways you can use the either thresholds or the overrides. My favorite way is to use campaign level overrides. The reason I do that is because the placement modifications for the modifier specifically are done at the campaign level. So I can use then the placement optimization score and sort these to figure out the ones I really want to key in on. And you can see I've kind of color coded a few of them, for example, that I want to run for single keyword modes and then multi-keyword modes. So this column here, this AT, that shows you how many enabled targets are in those campaigns. So this one's a single keyword campaign, this one, and then these 2 are multi-keyword campaigns. So if you see what I did, I basically just grabbed the campaign names of the red ones, for example, for my single keyword. So I grabbed this list here. So you can see there's 6 campaigns, and I basically just went over here and put those 6 campaigns in the override cell. So I'm just going to run these rules on these 6 campaigns because I've determined that the top of search placement is really doing well in those campaigns. That's why I use the placement optimization score to find out quickly. And I want to kind of hedge against top of search for this mix. And another thing to point out is I've got these rules at the very top of autopilot because I want them to run first. And that's just because they're, the highest precedent, kind of most complex thing. They involve overrides. So you always want to deal with those first before you kind of have rules set up for everything else. So yeah, I think we've covered that pretty well in the previous training. So hopefully that makes sense. But then the input parameters for the single keyword, you need a target ACOS at the placement level row or rule rather. So that's why that's plugged in. And then this nudge factor, what it's used for is to kind of nudge your base bid down based on the, in this case, top of search CPC. So we're actually using the converting CPC on our top of search entity and then nudging down, in this case, 10%. So if you want to go even a bit more aggressive, you could decrease that value and then it would only go 5% less than what the current top of search CPC is converting at. And then basically what we're going to be doing is using revenue per click times target ACOS in conjunction with this target ACOS value that we plug in here to determine our modifier percentages automatically, to achieve the 30% ACOS across all of our placements. So, all right, so that's kind of a mouthful and it's pretty confusing. So the easiest way is just to run these and then again, go and look at your sheet and see what it does. Another thing that I like to do, it's actually not needed in this scenario, because I used the campaign overrides and I already determined that these campaigns were single keyword, is you can use this column here and set it to 1. And the use case there is probably more so if you don't use overrides and instead use the placement level thresholds. So this is something I went over in the last video on how to add these off the settings tab here with the boosted columns. But this is probably the best use case for these campaign thresholds, is when you want to use these new placement algorithms and do it based on campaign level thresholds. So for example, any campaign greater than 5 orders with less than 35% ACoS, I want to do a multi-tiered placement optimization. That's how you could easily do that. And then you could have the 1 set up here for your single keyword, and then the greater than 1 for the multi-keyword. That's another way to kind of do this. But I've been playing around with it and using it across multiple accounts here the past few months, and this is my favorite way to do it thus far. So anyway, and then there's another feature here I want to illustrate after I run this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just run. I'm going to run both of these. So this one I set up the same way, the multi-keyword. And in that case, I just grab those 2 campaigns, put them in there, and then you do need target ACoS for both levels in the multi-keyword option. And then the nudge factor is not used in the multi-keyword. So, but anyway, let me run these here just so we can see them in action. And I'll go ahead and keep all the rest of them live as well. So let's run that. All right. So there we go. Now let's go ahead and we're going to look at rules 1 and 2. Basically, you can see here is the first single keyword campaign, then the next one, then the next one. I'm basically just looking at the campaign names here when they change. So basically what happened in this example, or let's do this one. This one's more applicable because we've got multiple placements that have changed. All right, so you've got your the original placement. It's whatever it was to start with, and there's actually a column over here that shows you that. But since we've been messing with placements so much, this actually probably wasn't the value that was there. I wasn't really paying attention, but anyway, the calculation that's getting done is because we did the top of search hedge towards top of search. The 110 is coming from our top of search CPC, all right, which is right here. So a 10% nudge underneath 122 is 110. All right, and then to hit a revenue per click times target ACoS across all the placements with a target ACoS, I think it was 30%. Yeah, 30%. The modifiers, in order to get to that, target CPC and allow for a high enough bid, bid meaning combination of base bid plus your modifier allowance, needs a 72% on top of search and a 14% on product pages. And then rest of search, the reason it's 0 is it was likely negative, or it just calculated out, or there wasn't any orders at all on rest of search. That'd be the other kind of use case. And I don't have Amazon Business in this demo file, but obviously that one would get calculated as well. So yeah, it's kind of a complex 2-step type of formula, but it's not overly complicated, where the multi-keyword one is super complicated. I'm not even going to go over the logic. I'll just put that in the training if you're interested. But anyway, I wanted to show one other kind of nice little tweak here that you can do. I'm going to just highlight these yellow so we know. Let me do this one and this one. Let's pretend that the original placement modifiers for this campaign were all 0s. And I actually wanted to hedge even more against top of search. So when this calculation was finished, I wouldn't have that modifier on product pages. I only want to increase on top of search. So what I would do in that case is go back here and I would set this placement override only in the placement modifier row here. I would set that to the placement that I want to change. So this allows you to basically only change one, or you can actually select multiple placements based on the calculation. So I'm going to do this. This I think is kind of the best use case for this specific rule set personally. So now I'm going to rerun this, and what I should get is only that top of search value changing to like, I think it was like 70 something. And then the others will stay at 0 because that's what they were before. Okay, so now let's go back and see. And sure enough, you can see it changed only the top of search to 72 and the others stayed at 0, which was kind of a representation of what they were before. So that is really a way you can formulaically hedge towards the placement that's really performing well, in this case top of search, and be more aggressive and tell Amazon, hey, I really want to push my placements just towards top of search and away from, you know, these other placements that really aren't doing much. So a lot of different options to experiment with. All right, and then last thing, let's look at one of these multi-keyword campaigns that we set up for the placement algorithm. So this one's super complex. It's going to end up normalizing all of the base bids towards the top performing keyword, and it's going to optimize your placement modifiers as well. This one is, I'm not even going to attempt to explain the logic. You'll just have to reference the guide in this case, and you can see kind of a explanation here. I'll put it up on the screen and kind of freeze it so you can read over it. But you know, the goal here of the multi-keyword is dynamically allocating more budget to the high ROI keyword. It avoids the overbidding on the poor performers, and it boosts the placements like top of search only when, you know, the data justifies it. So that's done through a pretty complex multi-step logic. So like I said, not even going to attempt to stumble my way through that one. All right. And yeah, that's pretty much the autopilot in a nutshell. I would definitely work on focusing in on the first set of videos, the first 3 there, and then this last 4th series that's more advanced. Definitely hone in on those once you've mastered the first 3, and you will definitely, by the end of that, be a big leg up on your competition. I can assure you there. And if you have any questions on any of this, don't hesitate to reach out to our support email there in the members area. Be more than happy to hop on a call, walk you through things. The scale assisted plan there in autopilot here, you can sign up for that as well. We offer just month-long trials if you just want to give it a go for a month. Our team will handle all the tedious stuff related to ad tactics with all the data downloading. And then you just kind of focus in on the 5% of tasks that really you need to hop in and tweak some things, upload your file, and you're good to go. That plan has really been popular for you know, bigger brands, growing brands that can afford it, and they're looking for, you know, more support, more hands-on, one-on-one type of thing. Also get access to our private Discord channel, so we're just really there to answer any questions you need and get you up to speed as quick as possible. So anyway, guys, hopefully this training series has been helpful, and I really appreciate you guys watching. See ya.